they have to start knowing this continent of opportunities, because Africa is the new El Dorado for the space business. More than 1,300,000,000 inhabitants, they have to come. That is the bridge. Currently, there is 61 African satellites. 30 satellites are planned to be launched by 2030. That determine they are very strict on the methodology. Risk analysis is important for them. And they want to have everything in control before making a decision, which is a little bit different from Africa. I will tell you an anecdote, and you will laugh, but don't laugh. All of them are putting human being in the center of everything. In the center of everything. You start with people, you continue with people, you end with people.
Did you know Africa has its own space program? I met Dr. Tidiane Ouattara. He's the director of the African Space Agency. We spoke about technology, about the different actors in society, business, science, and how they interfere. For me as a curator, that's an interesting perspective on society and how things work in the world. As an artist, I was more interested in the question, how does technology impact human beings, their soul, but also what is about the animal world? What's happening with the plant world regarding to satellite technology, for example? We had a great talk. Dr. Tidiane Ouattara is someone wonderful. He's a very spiritual person, and the talk was really inspiring to me. So tune in, enjoy Tomorrow Thinking.
Tomorrow Thinking with Johan Alexi.
Today I have Dr. Tidiane Ouattara as a guest. He's the president of the Council of the African Space Agency. Mr. Ouattara, what is African aerospace today?
Thank you for inviting me, and it is an opportunity to share with you what space is in Africa. The space in Africa for us today is fantastic. It is growing, it is becoming critical, and it is a key pillar for decision-making process.
More podcasts and info at tomorrow-thinking.com.
How is that working? How many countries are involved into the program?
First of all, let me tell you that the African Space Agency is an organ of the African Union, which includes 55 countries.
Mm-hmm.
De facto, all the 55 countries are members of the African Space Agency.
Okay, so automatically they're members of the Space Agency.
Absolutely.
And how do the different countries contribute to the project?
In terms of contribution, financial contribution, the seed money of the African Space Agency is coming from the contributions of all the members to the African Union. Since we are an organ, we get our share from that general contribution. And secondly, we are building programs in partnership with the countries and institutions. That is bringing the second part of the money. And the third part of the money is coming from special contributors.
Like foreign investors or African investors? Like private investors?
Like European Commission and like other private sectors. But we are inviting more and more investors to come.
But since when does that organization exist, and how many rockets did you send in space already?
Oh, we are a newborn baby, yeah? I'm telling you, because I would say the statute of the African Space Agency has been adopted in 2018, I will say, 2018. The structure was approved in 2023, and the council has been elected in 2024. Therefore, we have started operationalization right now. We are working on the governance. Meanwhile, we've been working on the space programs in partnership with the European Commission. One of the continental programs being GMS in Africa, which is Global Monitoring for Environment and Security in Africa, funded by the European Commission. The second phase is now, the last 9 years, we've been working on that program, which is to use Copernicus data, which is satellite data, to manage environment, water, wetland, marine and coastal areas, challenges and issues.
Could I understand how that works? I saw that you created a water and fishing app. I really like that example. Could you explain how that is working?
Yes, but that was done in partnership with University of Ghana and Ghana Meteorological Service. For example, they developed some models in the Marine Center of the University of Ghana.
So how is that working?
Fantastic, because it helped us to reduce the number of deaths of fishermen. The traditional fishermen, they don't have a lot of information and data on the marine weather. Therefore, that allowed us to provide them with information saying it is red, don't go. The weather is bad. It is green, go. It is yellow, be careful. And we did it through the Association of the Fishermen in providing them with just the data and information later, because the model behind it don't care about that really.
That's really interesting because it's a very practical example. I feel something humanitarian behind that intention, right?
Absolutely. Not only humanitarian, but the daily life of the people, because the traditional fishermen, for example, all their life is the fishing. They are getting food from it, they are getting money from it, and the money will help them to support their kids. And secondly, the canoes that are used by the fishermen, we realized that they were owned by the women, by many women. And it was a kind of resources for these women, and that families are, all really depending on these resources.
Yes, a whole bigger context.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful that technology can do that, right?
Absolutely. This is the innovation we are bringing, because thanks to space, people can get access to data and information quickly and repeatedly, and in a quasi real time, which is making a lot of difference.
How many satellites do you have up there?
Currently, there is 61 African satellites. 30 satellites are planned to be launched by 2030. And we are expecting more than that in 2035.
And they're circulating all over the planet, I imagine. So the data taken is not only for and from Africa, but also from other countries in the world.
Absolutely. But as you said, and this is what others are doing, and those who are interested in the data from African satellites, they can communicate with the data producers directly, and they will provide them with.
There is this big topic of climate change, and I can imagine that the data the satellites are collecting might be relevant, as the climate is obviously changing and the work on ground needs to be planned and adapted properly, right? So how can you help the agriculture with your technology?
Oh, thank you for this question. The climate change, nobody can stop the climate change, but we can adapt. That's why we talk about climate change and adaptation. But to be able to adapt, you have to understand how the climate changes and the frequency of the changes. And space is providing data and information for climate modeling to allow people to see the different scenarios and situations and to make, evident decision. The evidence-based decision, thanks to space, is now critical in climate change. Now, we know the climate change is impacting the agriculture. Therefore, knowing the different situations that can happen depending on the timing, depending on the different factors, we can develop rules, principles, policies, and practical activities with respect to the agriculture. In addition to that, space itself directly contributes to agriculture. For example, you have some drones combined to satellite data that can guide you on where you can irrigate, where you can expand or use fertilizers, where you can use what kind of water, what quantity of water. Space is guiding a lot agriculture community, or I will say the farmers, to make sure that they are increasing their productivity.
So how is this working? Can I imagine that the satellites send directly the data to the machines of the farmers? Or do the farmers do like long-term planning with the seeds and the work plans, etc., based on your data?
No, the farmer has to work with the expert in space. The farmer doesn't need to be an expert, but the space is producing a service. The farmer, for example, can say, okay, I'm realizing that in my farm, some part are the plants and the vegetables are healthy, but in the other areas in the same farm, things are not working very well. I think we need fertilizers, but I don't know really what quantity. I don't know what kind of superficie, until what extent. Then the space expert will come and provide him with the information he need or she needs to use the fertilizer properly and appropriately.
That means the data is one thing, but then there's this service to provide the information, how to apply it in your business as a farmer, for example. I suppose it's already implementing a lot of AI.
The AI, we have to be careful here. The AI can help increasing the treatment, can increase the speed of the treatment, the even efficiency of the treatment. But bottom line, you need human being to make the final decision. The farmer itself, based on his knowledge, will validate the AI. And the AI is used in space to improve the productivity of space services, not to replace that. This is what we have to keep in mind.
Through climate change, we have the situation that the rivers lose their level and change dramatically in their water level, which is another problem for traffic and navigation and transport of goods, obviously. Is there anything you're doing in that context?
Yeah, absolutely. The river is going out at a certain level, depending on the quantity of rain, the volume. Space can predict all that. And secondly, space can tell you if the level is reached, to what extent the water will be, what are the superficies, the areas the water can cover. It allows the public service managers and experts and the community people to take all the measures to avoid death of people, to avoid or to reduce the damages, since they know where the water will be way before the event happens. They will take precautions to change.
Such a fantastic technology. I'm great. It's existing and it's operating, obviously. Where are your starting hubs in Africa? Where do the rockets launch?
No, currently, as I told people, we are preparing ourselves. We don't have a rocket launch currently.
Okay.
We are working with partners to make sure that we launch our satellites, but it will come soon because Africa is thinking of it.
So who is launching your satellites?
Different countries. We are, Japan, China, Russia, USA, France. We are using the existing launching platforms to launch the satellites.
Are you starting to build something already?
We are thinking of it, and it is in the pipeline.
Okay.
Yes, and let finish with our governance. Let's finish preparing the fundamentals of the programs and really hear about Africa.
That sounds like a super exciting adventure. How is that today, actually? If you create a rocket company, will you have the risk that the rockets don't start and that they don't succeed. Is this adventure or something which is in front of you?
No, when you talk about science, it comes with its risks. The risks are real, but at the same time, let's first see the capacity we want, and let's analyze that and have an idea on the risks. And I fully agree with you that it is a huge, huge commitment, and it is asking for more in terms of resources, human resources. Let's prepare ourselves and let's see what will happen.
Are there some countries in the African Union which are more invested technically, intellectually in the project than others?
Yes, there are many African countries interested in space projects. As I used to say, there is Egypt where we are located, we are based. We do have Algeria, we have Morocco, we have Nigeria, we have South Africa, and we have some newcomers. Kenya, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Gabon, Ghana working on it, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire. These countries, Namibia, Zimbabwe, these countries are really, really working hard.
What is your long-term goal with African aerospace?
Our long-term plan is to see all African countries taking advantage of space products and services. Our long-term plan is also to see space playing a key role in the socio-economic development of the continent. Our long-term goal is also to see Africa developing the critical human capital resources, because that is important. You have to have people to do the job. Let's train a lot of Africans. And the last one is to have a kind of harmonization of the regulatory, which will help space activities to be done in different countries by several or different stakeholders.
I hear you, and I have the impression that this whole project is also a question of power in the global game, right?
For some, yes. But for us, we want to use space for sustainable socio-economic development of the countries in the continent. That is critical for us. We know some countries are using it for other purposes, which is not really our purposes.
How is the interest from the universities and specifically from the young population in Africa for this kind of science and business?
Johan, I will tell you, innovation is coming from only two entities. Academia, that trains people, that does research and development to address citizens' needs, and the private sector, which uses the people trained by the academia and which transforms the result from the research and development to service on the market, to product on the market. You see, these two are in the middle of the game, and the young people are the critical human capital that will run the academia and the private sector.
Do you have, like in Germany or elsewhere in Europe, hubs who invigorate this idea between science, academia, and business? In Germany, we have Unternehmertum, which is in Munich, which is a very big hub between university, science, and implementation and startup. Or you have the Steinbeis University. Do you have something similar, which is trying to enable that connection?
Absolutely. This is a very good point you are raising, because we are relatively new in the space arena. We are learning from others, and we want to build on the success stories of others. This is an example. Create a kind of incubator. Create a kind of startups that will bring all stakeholders together to create the ecosystem of startups. Because in Africa, we are just starting. You do have a few companies, you do have a few startups. Let's make sure they are numerous. Let's make sure they are mature enough to be able to undertake big initiatives.
Where are the tech hubs in Africa?
South Africa, Egypt, to some extent, have demonstrated, the capacity of tech hub. When you look at Nigeria also, you can be surprised. The rate of researchers publishing in Nigeria is higher. And you also have Algeria and Morocco. What I just want to say is some countries like Kenya and Rwanda are coming on board on that, which is very, very, very interesting.
Do you have like a technical or business-oriented relationship to Europe?
First of all, we are an organ of the African Union, and the African Union is the intergovernmental body. As a space organ of the African Union, we just implement the decisions of the African Union.
Mm-hmm.
We provide them with the space component. And therefore, our relationships with European Commission, with any other entities around the world, is aligned with the African Union relationship and priorities.
Is there anything you can propose to German companies?
The only thing I'm proposing to German companies is to come to Africa. Most of them don't know. And secondly, they have to start knowing this continent of opportunities, because Africa is the new El Dorado for the space business. All is to be done. As I said, 30 million square kilometers, more than 1,300,000,000 inhabitants. That will be 2 billion inhabitants in 2050. It is a huge market. They have to come. They have to start knowing Africans and vice versa, Africans knowing them, because Africans also don't know them too much. That is the bridge we should start building together.
It's also a cultural question, I imagine.
Absolutely. There are several cultural elements we can take here. Doing business in Africa is different from doing business in Europe, and particularly in Germany. If you want to do business in Africa, you have to go and learn how they do business, who they are. It is important, and the who include the culture. I'm not saying the names. The identity is in their culture, and you can do business with someone when you know very well how the person behave, how the person strategize, and what are their priorities, really. And this is how you develop sustainable relationship. You can develop relationship quickly, but will it be sustainable? No. Therefore, the cultural component is important.
It's very important. But then African Union is like 50 countries.
55.
55, excuse me.
No problem.
I think you come from Côte d'Ivoire, right?
Yes.
So if a CEO of a big German tech company would come to Côte d'Ivoire, what should he learn about you culturally before he comes? How should he inform himself?
No, he has to know what we have in common. There are several African countries, 55 countries, but we have some commonalities. We have some values in common. You will see in all Africa, the Africans, once you have their confidence, they start calling you brother or sister. It means that they have elevated the relationship in such a way, in considering you as brother or sister, they will never betray you. That is fundamental. The values of the relationship, it is critical, important, but it should be based on the mutual confidence. That is one. Secondly, in going to Côte d'Ivoire, this is something they will learn. That these Africans in Côte d'Ivoire, the Ivorians, are no different from others. They will seek for transparency, for integrity, and for a business based on a win-win situation. And that comes with the respect of their law, their rules. And it is the same in all African countries. You do have Francophone countries, Anglophone countries, Arabic countries, Spanish, Lusophone countries, we say. They all are seeking for the same values. Now, you can have some vertical values, some specificities. This is normal, like in Europe. Germany, France, Netherlands, they agree on some common values. But at the same time, they have their own particularities, specificities.
So you say it's crucial to inform yourself before you go somewhere, and probably it's vice versa.
Absolutely. Because before coming to Germany, I started reading on the German culture.
What did you learn?
No, what I learned, something I perhaps knew in general, but that was confirmed, that the German, they are very strict on the methodology, and the risk is critical. Risk analysis is important for them, and they want to have everything in control before making a decision, which is a little bit different from Africa. And we all know you will never get all the data and information before making a decision. But what is the threshold where you can say, I have enough, or where you can say, I can now make a decision based on evidence? In Africa, we are lacking data and information, but we have to make decisions quickly for citizens. That is something the German companies should learn. In going to Africa, they will not get all data and information right away. They have to build it with the time. But at the same time, they have to make some decisions from the beginning. There is a compromise to make here.
Maybe that's a beautiful way to learn how to take risks for Germans to get in another country where risk-taking is more normal. Because I think that Germany is a little bit maybe suffering from that mentality. So it can only help to move and to get inspiration from somewhere else.
Which is a cultural issue, I would say, because in Africa, we are in a position we say, okay, if it doesn't happen today, it will happen tomorrow. Don't worry. Don't stress yourself. Don't kill yourself. Do your best. But in European countries or Western countries, it has to be done today. And people start shaking. They're under pressure. When you have two cultures meeting in different positions, one saying, if it is not done today, we will do it tomorrow. And another one saying, no, it has to be done today. You see, the negotiation will not be easy. Secondly, those who want to do it today are looking at the money they are investing, and the pressure becomes bigger. On the other side, they will say, no problem, we are not losing money, we are just always learning. And tomorrow we'll make more money than today because we have learned, because it didn't happen. You see, the German companies and stakeholders should put themselves in these conditions. They have to understand that when they are going to do business in Africa. But most of the time, people come with a stereotype. Oh, Africans, they're lazy. Oh, Africa. No, it is not that. Our temperatures, it is hot. We cannot run as people are running. Secondly, we have one of the socialization level very high. Meaning when I see my friend and brother Johan, I have to stop and greet him first. Take time to greet him. Human is in the middle, in the center of the African activities. But in some other regions, you can just say, hello, how are you? And you pass. In Africa, that is not accepted. If you know each other, you have to stop and greet. It takes 5 minutes. What is the problem? You see, all these small things can increase a relationship, strengthen a relationship, or kill it. Joan, he doesn't take time to stop and talk to people. This guy doesn't love people. That is a prejudgment, which is not perhaps true. But the perception is there, and the perception can kill the goals.
I love that idea of taking time. When I'm in Morocco, for example, I love it. People always say, whoever, ça va, ça va.
Ça va. Well,
And that's enough. It's beautiful because it creates a very warm atmosphere around your heart and you feel connected with people. And if you're a stranger, you're totally accepted.
absolutely.
It's really beautiful. I miss this here a little bit in the center of Europe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're right. I will tell you an anecdote and you will laugh, but don't laugh. Some African brothers coming for conferences in Europe, they arrived and they had their conference. But from the airport to the hotel, nobody picked them. They find their ways to get there. And during the conference, they had to pay for their lunch, their coffee. That was the concept of that conference anyway. Not all conferences in Europe are like that. I'm not saying that. And even myself, some people went yesterday and picked me up. Therefore, the type of conference I'm talking is, just to tell my story, is these African brothers, when they went back home, they were not happy. They said, these people, they didn't consider us. They didn't consider us. And I said, why? And they explained to me. I said, no. Don't look at it like that. They said, no. When you receive a foreigner, whatever the situation is, you welcome him with water. This is how Africa works. You greet him after giving him water, and you say, okay, let's work together now. Secondly, you don't eat alone. You provide food. This is why all conferences in Africa, you'll see it is full of food, and people are taking time to go and pick their partners up from the airport. It is not because they're spoiling money. No. It is because it is the culture. This is how they feel better.
I wish we could have a lot more of this here in Germany. But there's places like here at BBUG where they take it really well with food and attention. And
absolutely.
Lovely people.
Yeah. Since yesterday, I've been in very good situation. They picked me up. They brought me to a nice hotel. I ate well. This morning, it was the same thing, coffee here and there. I cannot complain. Not all are like that, but these are small things, an anecdote.
Cultural differences. You worked and lived, obviously, a long time in Canada, right?
Absolutely.
What did you do there?
First of all, I went to Canada in 1994 and for studying. After my PhD, I started teaching at Sherbrooke University as lecturer, and then I joined the federal government of Canada, where I occupied several positions, from researcher to international relation manager, and also program managers and special advisor to minister and the scientist, specifically the chief scientist at Natural Resources of Canada, and at the Canadian Space Agency also as international relations manager. Yeah, these together are very good experiences of my life.
And then you moved back to Côte d'Ivoire.
No, I moved back to the African Union. Okay. As coordinator of the African Space Program, Water Space Program. Côte d'Ivoire being my native country, okay. I'm going there regularly. Every year, almost I'm there.
I know that family also plays a major role, and it's a total different concept of family in your purpose and culture than in Europe. Can you explain a little bit what is the role of your wife for your well-being and the whole understanding of family? I find that really interesting.
Yeah, my wife is my partner for life, for sure. And as I was saying, when you get married in Africa, you are not married. It is not a marriage between two people. The families are married, meaning your wife's family becomes your family and your family becomes her family. And her family members can be a kind of resources for you when you need them, and vice versa. This is why you are not alone. And in my case, coming back to Africa, my wife was instrumental and critical in my decision, because she was the one who was taking care of my kids when I'm away. She was the one who accepted that coming back to Africa, you can imagine, in Canada was in a very good situation, financial situation, advantages here and there. But I made the decision to come back to Africa. which comes with the famous risks we're talking about. I lost some money in terms of salary, in terms of advantages, but my wife was there to support me. But at the same time, she knew that it was part of my ambition since I explained to her. She knew that I would be happy. The happiness of her husband was her goal. It is beyond my wife also because I received support from even my mentors and coaches.
Who are your mentors and coaches?
My mentors and coaches are from various areas. They are black and white, because in Canada, I work with white people. They didn't know my parents, but they were judging me based on the performance, based on the professional commitment and professional achievement. And therefore, there were numerous white people that supported me. But at the same time, I did have and I do have black mentors because from cultural point of view, from their own journey in the same area and even in the continent, they are still guiding me. Therefore, and among them you have women and men. It is a combination, depending on the challenge, depending on my vision, on my perspectives or objectives.
Those mentors, what was the most valuable thing you got from them?
All of them. Perhaps it depends on the values I have and I want to find in my mentor. All of them are putting human being in the center of everything. In the center of everything. You start with people, you continue with people, you end with people, and you restart again with people. Whatever you do with people, for people, with people.
So you speak a lot about people, and I think that's really beautiful and strong to have such a core value regarding the human beings. I think that's, as a business person who is so successful and having a lot of responsibility like you, it's iconic and it's inspiring that you're putting that forward. But my question is, which role does the animal world and the plant world play in this whole idea of humanity?
No one's than Africans have or has a strong linkage with the nature. The nature is full of plants and animals. We've been in Africa living in perfect harmony with our environment made up of plants and animals. Plants for food, plants for medicines, plants for balancing the biodiversity. I can add water. It's critical for us. It is life. And animals, they can be our allies, friends. They can be also our enemies, competitors, fighting for the same things, or they can be source of our food. But whatever the situation is, we Africans, we think that you have to balance the exploitation of the natural resources made up of plants and animals. You don't kill for killing. You kill to eat, or you kill to just protect if needed. Let's say you don't kill the lions because you want to kill the lions. You kill the lions if the lions are coming on your territory and impeding you to survive or are threatening your cows, your goats, etc. Or when you go hunting and you have to defend yourself. This is why for centuries in this continent, nature was not unbalanced. The biodiversity has never been an issue. But when came the time when people started killing animals, they were not Africans. They were using Africans to kill them. They, I would say, encourage and change the mind of some Africans in telling them, you can do that, you can have more money. Be plants, be animals. We started cutting our wood. We started destroying our waters with chemical pollutions. We start killing our elephants because of the ivories. All that to get money. Nowadays, countries are fighting against that. Do they have the means to completely stop that? No. And we have to teach our people in the urban areas, because in the rural areas, they are still living in harmony with plants and animals. For me, every time I go back to my native country, I even don't spend 2 days in Abidjan, the capital. I want to go for the resourcement in my hinterland, where I was born, where I'm really, really comfortable when I find my nature. And it may not be the same for those in the urban areas because they were born and growing there. Therefore, it may be nothing for them. For me personally, there's a balance to find between human and the utilization and consumption of nature made up of plants and animals.
Now we are speaking about the artwork, Truth is Capital, which is here on the wall.
We're talking about the work Truth is Capital by Johan Alexis. He's using pigment and binder as technique. And you are in front of this huge red painting, and it's basically a red surface you're diving into. Only when you take a second look, you recognize the words written on it in red letters. Truth is capital. So it's red letters on a red surface, meaning you're more sensing those words than you actually see them. The words don't involve a specific meaning. They're open to interpretation of each viewer, and the artist himself generates those words during a state of meditation.
What do you think about it?
Truth is capital. This is what I was saying. Truth is you have to be yourself first. Truth doesn't start with what people say. Truth starts with yourself. Be yourself. Secondly, truth is to be able to appreciate what people are doing and saying around you without frustrating them. Respectfully. You have truth. It is to be aligned with your values, but at the same time, to know that we are living in a community where the truth is they have also their own values you have to respect. Truth is being capable to live with your values, but respecting the values of others, reaching your goals without removing to others what they want to achieve. Truth is the reality of our world, be at local, village level, at national level, country, regional level, region of the continents and continental level, is to be able to live in compromising win-win situation. This is what, for me, is the truth. Nobody wins, nobody loses.
Truth is
critical and capital.
Thank you. What an amazing talk. Thank you so much, Dr. Tidiane Ouattara.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tomorrow Thinking with Johan Alexis, a podcast developed in the context of the BBUG Fellowship. Producer, Malcolm Gumpf. More podcasts and info at tomorrow-thinking.com.